Without further ado, I want to talk a little bit about our final closing session. And I want to talk a little bit about Bryan Papé and the company that he started. He's going to talk a lot more about it, but we were really excited about attracting Bryan to the stage because we love entrepreneurs that have created brands and companies that matter. We know there's a lot of places to buy bags in this industry, there's a lot of places to buy drinkware, and there's a lot of great companies. But I think the ones that have really stood out are the ones that have got great stories, the ones that are really passionate about causes that transcend the product themselves. Bryan has a fascinating story, and we're going to use slido.com/skucon2020 towards the end. We've got about a 40-minute total session, but about the last 10 or so minutes, we're going to really dive into some questions. So we encourage you to post them as Bryan speaks with us. Of course, MiiR was also behind the beautiful product that was generously donated. This is not a sales pitch that's going to happen here. This is a story about someone who has created something really special, and I think that we can all learn from his journey. So without further ado, Bryan Papé.
Hello, thanks for having me. What a great intro. This is one of our bottles. Hopefully I won't kick it over during the next 30 minutes with our time together, but thank you for having me. It's been an incredible day. I've been here for part of the day, and I'm blown away by the people here, the passion that you all have for this industry, and hopefully today my story can inspire many of you to do great things within your own lives and also within your organizations. I always like to get vulnerable with crowds, and my wife and I, we lost her mother a little over a year ago, and since then, every single day I've been taking a moment of gratitude. It was something I didn't practice before that. And so today I'm just really thankful to be here with you all for my health and just to spend time together and hopefully inspire you with what I've done in my life. I'd also like to thank Gemline, who really put together the bag promotion. So let's give it up for Gemline. They're an incredible supplier. They represent MiiR, and they came to us a couple years ago and said, hey, in addition to your incredible drinkware, we also wanted to design with your approval bags for this industry. And so I'm excited about the bags. I have my personal touch on them. I'm very picky about design. You'll see that in this presentation. So these bags were co-created, and I hope you enjoy them. There is no sales pitch, but certainly we love your business. The other thing is that I hope someday I get to meet Oprah. I think she's an incredible person. And so sometimes I get to play Oprah. And so today everybody gets a bag. You get a bag, you get a bag, everybody gets a bag today. Today we're going to talk about my story. We'll get to the Q&A at the end, but what I want to talk about is what's been successful for MiiR, is how I've been able to create a brand that's risen above commodification. There's a ton of drinkware brands out there. There were slightly fewer in 2010 when I started. And I'm going to touch base on three things that have separated MiiR from the rest of the pack, which is design, generosity, and really customer obsession, which we've leaned into in the past couple years. The reality is commodification will happen. It happens in every industry. But you have the opportunity to rise above that when you build a brand. You can see it in so many different products around the world. You can see it in drinkware. You can see it in headphones. You know, you can buy a pair of headphones at 7-Eleven for less than $5. And yet some of us pay $250 for Apple's AirPod Pros. It's crazy, right? But it's that experience you get when you buy something from a brand. And so today I want to have some hopefully thought-provoking thoughts for you on how to build a brand. And there's many distributors here. How many distributors are in the room? A lot of distributors. Awesome. Some suppliers as well. And then maybe just people periphery in the industry. You might be thinking, how do I build a brand, Bryan? I don't have a product. So I want to start with a baseline. That brand is not product. Brand is the feeling when somebody says your name. It's the feeling they get when somebody says your name. When you say Gemline, when you say MiiR, when you say Apple, what is that feeling that somebody gets? That is brand. Brand is not the physical manifestation of a product. It's much bigger than that. And you have to be very careful about creating that feeling. And so for MiiR, we've had an incredible opportunity over the last 10 years to partner with some incredible world-class brands around the world. We've had the unique opportunity. We sell into Blue Bottle Coffee, Starbucks around the world, Patagonia, and I'll get into some of these stories in a little bit. And I say this not to brag, but hopefully to inspire you, that we've partnered with all these brands with very little to no marketing dollars spent or any outbound sales. It may sound crazy, but you'll see why, hopefully, in the next 20 minutes. So my story of MiiR, this is me, about 2006. So my story starts off a bit of a tool. 2006, this is, this is me. And I thought I wanted to be the next Warren Miller. I wanted to go out and make films. I was heavy into photography and videography, and I wanted to be the next Warren Miller. And it was all about me and how much money I could make. That all changed on April 15th, 2006. This is me sitting against a tree. I was filming for Stevens Pass outside of Seattle. And this is what happens when you hit a tree while filming. I broke my femur right in half. This is what it looks like when you break your right femur. Snapped it clean right in half. It looked like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson just took my leg and snapped it right in half. When you break your femur, you can essentially bleed to death in less than 10 minutes. And unfortunately, I knew this because my roommate at the time had done it about 2 years earlier. He had a ski accident, broke his femur. I said, hey, never break your femur, because if you do, you can hit your femoral artery and essentially die within 10 minutes. And so here I am sitting against this tree, 2006, with my leg off to the right, thinking, holy cow, I could absolutely lose my life. And it was at that moment that I had really a life-defining moment where two things came to mind. The first was, I need to marry my incredible girlfriend. This is what's funny about the whole thing. This is how much of a tool. You're like, yeah, you're kind of a tool, but this is how much of a tool I was. It took me breaking my femur to realize I should marry my girlfriend. So this is my wife. We've been married 12 years now. It was a good decision. It was the first thought. It was better that it wasn't the second thought, but that's how much of a tool I was. It could have been my second thought, but it was my first thought, and I thought, if I make it past this tree and this experience, I need to marry this woman. She's incredible. We've been married 12 years now. We water ski in our clothes. We hike mountains. We got married in 2007, shortly a year after the accident. We have 2 beautiful kids now, and we actually work together at MiiR, which is a true blast. The second thing I thought about sitting against that tree, which again, tool, what would people say about me at my funeral, right? That's how vain I was. What would people say about me? I was so concerned about it. And I realized that nobody would have gotten up at a funeral for my death and said anything positive about who I was as a person. Nobody. And it really struck me because this photo, again, tool, high school, I was the guy that put a Volkswagen Beetle on top of the roof of our high school. So I was the jokester, I was the prankster, that was who I was. But my grandfather, here's pictured, he passed away, unfortunately, in '96. And at his funeral, he had people lined out the door talking about the things he had done in his life to improve his community and the people around him. And I'd also observed him build an incredible family business up and down the West Coast. If you've been up and down the West Coast, you've seen Papé machinery, material handling. They sell heavy equipment. My cousin runs that company. So I observed my grandfather start and build that company. And then unfortunately, when he passed away, he kind of missed out on that later in life generosity. And so in '97, after he passed away, my grandmother started a family foundation where I was introduced to the idea of generosity and giving back. And it struck me because what I realized is that there seemed to be a gap in traditional business. There's a gap between business and philanthropy. So you start a company and you amass wealth, and then later on when you're done is when you give it away. And I thought, well, what happens if you have a ski accident? Or what happens when you die before it's too soon? You miss out on that opportunity. And so that really spurred this idea of how do I start a company where I can give back every single day, every single transaction for that matter. And so that idea was stewing in the back of my head. And after the ski accident, I thought, I want to be able to take advantage of this opportunity. And so a unique opportunity did come my way. I was part of another company that we sold in 2009, and I identified stainless steel water bottles as the next big thing. Turns out I was kind of right, fortunately for me. The piece that was missing was a really well-designed water bottle. And you're thinking, Bryan, there's so many bottles on the market right now. Well, back in 2009, it was kind of like the Nalgene, the Sig, Stanley had kind of been around, and that was about it at that time. And so I thought, how do we design a better bottle? Starting with design. I don't know if you all remember Nalgene's. When you open them up, there's like a lid and it flops over and it hits you in the face, and when you drink from it, you spill water all over your face. I thought, we got to make a better water. Yeah, I see some heads nodding. I love Nalgene. I grew up on them. But I knew that we could design a better water bottle. So that's the moment for me, was 2009, starting to make a better water bottle. One twist opening, you could drink out of it without spilling water on your face. It would fit in a cup holder. Really basic ideas. The other thing that was unique is that there was a lot of plastic on the market in 2009, 2010. And the BPA, this industry is probably very familiar with the BPA issues that hit. And I knew stainless steel had been a tried and true method for a very long time. And so I thought, you know what, we're going to go out and make stainless steel bottles. And so that was our first concept, was a stainless steel bottle. And the second thing I thought, when we launch this, how are we going to actually try to improve the world? From a generosity perspective, how can I help? And I actually didn't have an answer to that question. And it was this guy, his name's Jason Kyler. So in college, my wife we got super lucky, she just happened to nanny for the CEO of Hulu. And at the time, Jason Kyler was working on a secret project. He just left Amazon, and he said, hey, I'd love for you to beta test this new platform that I'm working on. We're like, great, we'll beta test it. He goes, here you go, log on to hulu.com and check it out, which was a pretty cool experience. And so we're on Hulu watching The Office, and Jason had given ad space to a guy named Scott Harrison, who started an incredible nonprofit in New York called Charity Water. Is anyone familiar with Charity Water? Oh, that's fantastic. It's an unbelievable nonprofit. Scott has the heart of a champion, a heart of gold. The guy is unbelievable. They have helped bring clean water to millions and millions of people around the world. And there was this ad at the time that said 1 billion people in the world lack access to clean water. And I knew about poverty, but 1 billion people, for some reason, just clicked one day that was 3 times the size of the US population. And I thought, well, we're selling water bottles. People need clean water. Let's help fund the clean water crisis. And so I called up Charity Water and I said, hey, I want to start donating money to you. And they're like, great. And I said, I also want to go and experience it. I've never met anybody who has not had access to clean water. And they said, well, unfortunately, we don't do donor trips. And I was like, well, that's unfortunate, because I really want to experience that. I felt disingenuous to say, hey, we're just going to go and give money to clean water, even though I've never experienced this firsthand. But I thought if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Another buddy of mine said, hey, I'd love to help you. You can see this theme. He said, I heard you're starting a business. I'd love to help you however I can. And see, he was a famous portrait photographer. My buddy John Keatley, who's still a good friend of mine, he does incredible work. He's photographed Bill and Melinda Gates. He's photographed Kevin Durant, Jeff Bezos. He said, let's make a funny portrait series, kind of talking about the features of your bottle. So we came up with these water beards that we photo impose. So this is what happens when you drink from not a MiiR bottle, maybe a Hydro Flask or, some other, Nalgene, perhaps. And so we had this great photo shoot, and then Courtney, who's photoed here, she said, hey, I'm not really into networking, but I think you should meet my brother-in-law. He happens to build wells in Liberia. Okay, that's interesting. So the next week, I meet her brother-in-law, Darrell Finley. And so we exchanged stories. Turns out he's a firefighter, full-time in Seattle. And then on the side, he just happens to build clean water projects in Liberia, Africa. And so this is about summer of 2010, and he said, I'm going in February 2011. Do you want to come? I said, let's go. So it actually worked out pretty well. We had about enough money to fund 2 clean water projects. So we headed over to Liberia, Africa, which is on the west coast of Africa. We promptly ran out of gas when we got there. This is how you fill up your car with gas in Liberia, by hand. And we saw firsthand what it looked like to not have access to clean water. And it was mind-blowing. The same places where people would do dishes, wash their clothes, is what they would also drink from. They'd find a puddle, because also by the ocean, any sort of source of somewhat pure clean water did not exist. We saw old wells that had been basically tainted, broken down, well intent, but no training behind it, no community advocacy behind it. So we met a man by the name of Prince Kondo there, who has an incredible story. And he had been working tirelessly to provide the dark forest community in Buchanan, Liberia, with clean water. So we shared our story, and we were fortunate enough to work with them and build 2 water projects. This is our first water project ever in the dark forest community in Liberia. This is Darrell and I after we finished it. And these are the kids of the dark forest community who had access for clean water for the first time in their life. And it was such a cool moment to realize that the product we had come up with to sell was actually having real impact on the ground in Africa. So I came back from that trip. Thank you. So I come back from that trip, and I show my friends and all of our first customers, I go, look at this trip, look at these photos. And this huge light bulb went off when my buddy Pat said, wait, so the bottle that I bought from you in July helped fund this clean water project? And I was like, it totally did. He's like, why doesn't anybody show that stuff? And I was like, that's a great question. And so it kicked off this whole transparency initiative with the brand, where we show all of our giving projects on our website. These are the GPS coordinates of our first clean water project. And what's exciting is even in all the bags that you all have, there's a give code in there. And if you register that code on our website, you can actually see the grants that we make, the dollars that we make. Sometimes there's video stories from the field. Sometimes there's 3D experiences. But it's all about us being transparent with the dollars that really you're entrusting with us to go and give out and empower the world. So you can do that. The thing that's mind-blowing here is that I honestly believe that when your heart's in the right place and you do good, good things come back. Some people call it karma. Some people call it just doing good things. We never intended this to be a discovery, but what we realized is that people who registered their give codes on our website spent $32 more per order, and they ordered 30% more frequently, which is insane. In the world of marketing, this is like the most mind-blowing stat you could ever find, simply from just showing your customers what you're up to with the dollars that you're giving, right? And so that was something that, a piece of innovation that came out of our, really our trip to do good in Africa, is now multiplying the effects across the world. We've been able to give in 61 countries. We'll get into some of the stats later. And I think one of the most amazing pieces is that not only the piece of marketing and transparency that has transpired, but really the partnerships. And especially in this industry, you all know partnerships are super important. And so today I'm going to feature one partnership that's one of my favorite partnerships. And it's a little company called Patagonia. It's been discussed here a little bit today. And in 2013, I was recently going through Instagram and kind of posting a 10-year recap. And it was in 2013 where we were making a little bit of progress, but we hadn't had quite the market success we needed. And I was honestly thinking about shutting the doors. And 2013, a guy by the name of Paul emails us at hello@meer.com, because we didn't even have a phone number on our website. And he says, hey, we really like your brand. We love your giving initiative. This is Paul from Patagonia. Not sure if you've ever heard of us before. We'd love to talk with you. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. So I promptly booked the first ticket down to Ventura, California, and hung out with the fine folks at Patagonia. And it's been an incredible relationship. But what's most rewarding with them is that they are so committed to their cause, and they're so committed to showing everybody else how to do it as well. We feel like a younger sibling, where they're helping us show the way in many ways, whether it's corporate sales, supplier relations, and just how to be good partners. This is with Rose, their CEO at Outdoor Retailer last year. We have now, since 2013, become their exclusive global provider for drinkware worldwide, and it's something that I always dreamed of and never imagined it would actually occur. We've been able to do some really unique things. We actually matched their baggy shorts with one of our camp cups, which was a really fun campaign that was super successful. And I think one of the most interesting pieces about this is that Patagonia has been around for 30 plus years, but it's their story that has really inspired parts of our business, and hopefully we can inspire other parts of other people's business. So there's this piece that continues to give back and give back. The third piece that has really led to MiiR's success is customer obsession. And I know many of you are in this room thinking, man, customers are really difficult. Yes, they are. But you could have the best mission in the world. You could have the best designed product. You could want to do the most good. But if you don't have customers, none of that can be accomplished at all. And so really it's been a journey for us over the last 10 years of how do we focus onto our customers? How do we actually treat them a way that we would want to be treated ourselves? We're so committed to customers, we actually opened a physical retail store. In this digital world, we have an analog spot where our customers can come in. We have a full cafe. So as we have drinkware, we actually make the products that go into our products. And it's been amazing to see our customers' respect for us increase tenfold, because they know that we understand their struggles, right? So when we go to a coffee expo, or we work with Starbucks, or we work with Blue Bottle, they understand that we have a slight bit more understanding into their lives, because we actually have a cafe ourselves, and we actually have meetings in that cafe to talk about the business relationship. And so I absolutely believe that this physical manifestation, in the world where everything's going digital, we went analog, and it's been absolutely worth it for us. We have panels. We've had Chris Burkard there. These are two of the former CEOs of REI. We had a great panel discussion a few years back. And so it's been an absolutely, I'd say it's maybe not the game changer for MiiR, but a game changer for us in the sense that it's a physical place where you can interact with your customers. Everyone's familiar with the Net Promoter Score. For us, Net Promoter Score is a way we can say that we're customer obsessed, but what do our customers say about us? And so the Net Promoter Score is basically a very simple way of finding out how much do customers like a brand, right? Starbucks, 77, very reputable brand. Apple, 72, Amazon, 62. MiiR just came in 2019 at a 78. And that was, I don't say this to brag, again, hopefully to inspire, but this is an absolute testimony to the focus that we've had on our customers, the generosity, and the design of our brand. Over the last 10 years, we have been able to donate to 61 countries over $1 million, which has impacted over 115,000 people, which is, thank you. It felt when we first started, and this, you may feel this way too, that just doing a little bit feels a little disingenuous because it felt as though like me from my company just giving a little bit really wasn't going to do much. You know, I could have stayed in corporate America. I could have, you know, given 5-10% of my, you know, revenue or earnings to a cause. But once you start something, once it becomes, you know, the snowball effect to become so much bigger than yourself, and then to look back and to realize this is something that I never could have done on my own. And it really is, it's a reflection of me starting for sure, but it's a reflection of all of our customers supporting the idea that you can make the world a better place through the customer experience. And I absolutely believe that. There's a couple new logos down here that you may or may not be familiar with. We're obviously a certified B Corp. We're part of 1% for the planet. But for 2020, what's new for us is that we're signing on to climate neutral, which means that we measure, and then we reduce, and then we offset any carbon emissions for the entire brand moving from 2020 on, which is a huge commitment for our brand. We absolutely believe that this is the last planet. We have no interest in going to other planets, at least I don't. So we want to take care of the one that we have. So that's a commitment that our brand is signed on to. I would encourage any of you to look into that initiative as well. The three things, like I said at the beginning, that have absolutely transformed MiiR are generosity, design, and customer obsession. Now, this might not be the blueprint for you all. You can copy it. You can take it. I would love for you to try it. You might be like, why are you giving this away? Why is your secret sauce being open to everybody? Honestly, 99% of the people in the world aren't going to do it. But the 1% of you that will, I'm probably going to outwork you, so I'm happy to give it away for free. But in all seriousness, these three things have worked for MiiR. We've had tremendous impact. We've been able to give away over $1 million. We've partnered with people like Patagonia. It's been a wild, wild journey. The thing that I would say, though, if this doesn't feel like it's for you, there's one question, though, that can absolutely get you to the place that you can move from being a commodity to a brand that actually has impact in the world. And that one question tonight that you should ask yourself is, how can I help? Whether you're making a product, how can I make this product better? How can I make this the best possible product? How can I use my business to improve the world around me, to empower people around us? MiiR's mission, we exist to empower people for a better future. And then the third piece, how do I help my customers, right? We're all customer-centric in this room. We have to be. But if you ask that question, how can I help? It sounds so obvious, but if you ask, how can I help my customer? You will absolutely rise above the mass sea of sameness and commodification that exists in every industry. And so tonight, as you reflect, as you go back to your rooms, as you go back and have meetings and drinks, just think about that one simple question in your business, in your lives, in your personal lives. How can you help? And I guarantee you, you will be changed. But what's even more exciting about that, is that not only will you be changed, but the entire world around us will be changed as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so great. I'm really excited about the fact that we've intentionally left about 15, 16 minutes for some Q&A. I was taking a look at Slido, and it's been on fire. So I'd love to just sit and have a stand-up fireside conversation with you. Why don't we go and have some fun with these? You want me to just go pick some?
Yeah, let's do it.
And then I can add my perspective?
Yeah. Ooh, bottom one. What does MiiR mean?
All right.
I always forget to say it. Everybody asks, so I have to address it. So MiiR, completely made up. But no, I mean, it is made up. But seriously, it comes from two pieces. So MiiR, M-I-R, in Eastern European languages means world or peace. So two things we're fans of. And then John MiiR, M-U-I-R. John MiiR, who helped develop the national park system. It's more of a tip of the cap to him. So we're an outdoor brand, we're an active lifestyle brand, so it's after John MiiR. A little fun piece there. And then there's all these like really great things with design, right? So there's two eyes. You know, we talk about design and generosity, like those are core to MiiR. So there's always things that like keep happening, you know, two water bottles, one person helping another. MiiR.com was available. That was huge when I started. I was like, yes!
Yeah. As was commonsku.com, by the way. That was sort of
it's
why
so
we
good when
decided,
that works
you know?
out.
Yeah, seriously.
Like Facebook, Instagram, those are all like fairly easy.
Right. I'm going to ask a question
Yeah.
just for a sec that's not on here. What did you think of the promotional products industry before you stumbled into it?
You know, so we were talking a little about this backstage, and it's funny because you know, brand partnerships, whether it's selling into specialty coffee or craft beer or corporate sales, you know, that aspect of MiiR, honestly, the God's truth, I had no intention of ever going into like any sort of, I didn't even know what co-branding was when I started MiiR.
Right.
I was like, we're gonna start this brand, and we're gonna sell to customers, and it's gonna be awesome.
Right.
And then I remember a buddy worked at John Hancock, and he had this like corporate sales budget. And he was like, if I don't use it, I lose it.
Right.
And I was like, okay, what does that mean? He was like, well, I'm gonna give you 10 grand, and you give me as many bottles as you want. And I was like, all right. And so I had to like go and find a printer, and we ended up making it work. But then coming into it was, I will say the first time I was at PPAI 4 or 5 years ago, I was shocked by kind of the sea of sameness.
Right.
You know, you walk the aisles and there's a lot of the same things, a lot of me too, you know?
Right.
And then I was struck by that probably because there's fewer categories maybe.
Right.
But then you go to other trade shows and it's disguised a little bit differently, but everything, it's like almost every industry has this like sea of sameness, and you keep seeing it, where it's like, whether it's PPAI, outdoor retailer, especially coffee show.
Right, and then you've got these pockets where you've got these brands.
And then you see this energy of these brands that are doing something different, and you know, it comes back to storytelling. I truly believe it.
Huh, interesting. There was a question here about Gemline. What were some of the brand values that make Gemline a good partnership for MiiR?
Yeah, I think the...
Why didn't you do it yourself direct?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say we were doing it ourselves because we didn't focus on it. Just whatever came in the door, we're like, sure, we'll do this when we get around to it. I mean, it was, talk about customer obsession. We were so focused on our direct-to-consumer business and our wholesale business that we kind of were like, oh, they're like, we need this in 24 hours. And we're like, sorry, we can't deal with that. So with Gemline, you know, them being able to deliver in 24 hours, we're like, great, you can have all that business.
Right.
But I think their attention to detail, their focus on the premium products, you know, they have, you know, Moleskine as part of their portfolio, MiiR, Samsonite. So we needed a partner who really understood brand and could represent the brand for us. And then the backpack thing was interesting because we had gotten into bags in 2013, 14, had some limited success at REI. So we kind of abandoned it when the stainless steel market was just growing rapidly. So it was kind of fun to get back into the bags, and I have a passion for bags too. So.
Right. I was curious to understand how getting into bags reinforced the mission that you had started off with at the beginning about providing clean water.
Yeah, so
Where's the fit there?
Yeah, so we started, great question. So we started off with clean water, and then I'd say over the last 3 years, we kind of expanded to clean water, healthy environment, and strong communities.
Right.
So kind of these 3 buckets, because with Patagonia, clean water is very different than clean drinking water. It's about how do we get plastic out of the waste stream? How do we actually clean up our rivers and our oceans? So clean water is kind of broadens.
Right.
And then really it's become, what are the things that we sell that we can do good with? And so not to like layer it down beyond bottles and say we'll never not sell bottles, but really the idea and the thesis is let's sell an incredible product and then do good with it.
Right. This question here has intrigued me, and you can pick some ones as well, but I'm just curious about this. So how do you track manufacturing at Gemline to ensure it impacts your B Corp certification in a positive way compared to how you manufacture it for yourself? So I suppose the first thing that's important is Gemline actually manufacturing MiiR under license?
They're actually manufacturing it, under license.
Okay, so now that we've clarified that, how do you answer this question in terms of
so part of it's,
meeting your standards?
their supply chain. We felt very good about the way that they work through their supply chain overseas, and so part of that is just SA 8000 and all the certifications, to make sure that those are in place.
Right.
And then for us, it's the way, because it's not really contract manufacturing, but it's a licensing thing, so that's how it works with the B Corp score. So it's kind of at arm's length. Are there other brands?
There's so many of these that are
you
good
won't
here.
co-brand with that don't align with. Oh yeah. So Patagonia, obviously we co-brand. Ones that we don't. This is actually pertains to Gemline. So For us, a full stop that we will not co-brand with is any bottled water company. We've had bottled water companies request that we co-brand with them. They're like, but we need merch, and this is really great. And I'm like, you need to be out of business. Woo! But that's just my, that's as long as I own the company, that's my personal bent against. I think bottled water is a pure waste of resources. Tap is the most expensive or the most affordable and delivers great quality water. Now, Southern California, I totally get. Just get a filter. It's not that hard.
Right. It's interesting that Patagonia has made some waves within the promotional products industry by, I think the most recent announcement is that they refuse to sell Wall Street venture capitalists or the banks, and that's historically been like the tech bro uniform.
There is some irony there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny because we get into it with Patagonia a little bit there, where they're so hardline they don't want to sell to this,
right?
And that's for me bottled water.
Right.
We come at it from an approach of, we believe that we're the best drinkware company on the market from a sourcing standard, from an environmental perspective, B Corp score, we're one of the highest ranked B Corps in the drinkware industry. And then what we do with the money that we give away, we think we do the best with it. And so for us, I'm happy to sell to banks. I'll take their money. We view it more as like Robin Hood, like Chase Bank, let's go.
Right. That's one at the top here. The collaboration with Nike. Can you tell us about that? Yeah,
it was super small, but it's with their trail running group. So it was just kind of a fun, for all their events that they're doing. Is it ACG? I'm totally blanking on the acronym ACG, trail running. But they're more outdoor.
Okay.
The outdoor arm of Nike we've worked with a little bit, and then we have some fun stuff with our Porigami, which is our coffee device with them, and then. I just have a personal obsession with Nike, so.
No, you're looking good.
We're hoping there's more there.
One that came to my mind, because I'm up here, I suppose I can jump the queue here. And keep you on your toes. So, any advice for companies, whether they're suppliers or distributors in the promotional products industry, that are inspired by your Give Back program? There may be some people here that are like, I'd love to do that, but I don't have the margins for it, or I just can't afford it. How can someone who is maybe a smaller business than yours, you started off small, to implement a corporate giving program?
I think there's so many ways that you can get involved. It's the products you represent, it's the ones that you select for your client, it's how you sell. I'd say the biggest one that probably doesn't cost you anything is that if you're the middle person between the company and the brand, or the company and the supplier, is inviting either party into a culture of generosity. And I'll give you an example. So before we worked with Gemline, we worked with HP on a global employee gift. Literally just came in through hello@meer.com, which is wild. And they ordered 50,000 bottles. And they were like, we love what you're doing. We want to tell your story to our employees. And I was like, awesome. How about you join us? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, we're going to give 50 grand, so you should give 50 grand. And they were like, okay. So they talked to their foundation. They're like, all right, we're in for 50 grand. So all of a sudden it went from 50 grand to 100 grand that we were able to donate to clean water. And I think sometimes people are afraid to ask that question of hey, do you want to participate? Because it might close the deal down or it might shut it down. But really, I think you'll be shocked by the shift of ESG, environmental social governance, just the whole movement of green, of social in the corporate environment right now is such a ripe opportunity where brand, literally, you probably all feel it. Show of hands, how many of your, as distributors, your customers are like, we need something that helps us look good, right? They need the halo effect. And so yes, you can purchase it, the halo effect, from buying a brand that does something good like MiiR, but what else can they do? Hey, let's get our employees involved. Let's tell our employees, guess what? We matched that give. And you all can be that conduit for that to happen.
Right. Yeah, I think that we see it. There's a real revolution that
Do you feel self-conscious? We can switch.
Yeah.
I just got the down one.
I got the mic on here, but otherwise it would. Yeah, that's good. I don't think Aaron, get off Slido. Yeah, that's funny. You and I are having this serious conversation, and people are making fun of us. We're trying to change the world up here.
You look good.
Yeah, this is called the Canadian tuxedo.
I love it. I love it.
So, we should just end this. I'm kidding. I want to talk to you for. I want to talk. We got 7 minutes, and we're going to talk.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Favorite product?
Why don't we get into that personal one? What do you think you'd be doing right now if you not had your accident?
Oh, man.
Sounds like you were a tool.
Yeah, total tool.
You know,
Well,
but you look pretty cool right now, right? I tell you, we should go on this.
Thanks. My wife hates it, but she's not here right now, so she can't say anything. She hates when I say this, but I used to, I speak a fair amount. When I get up, I used to be like, I was a total douchebag. She's like, you can't say that. I was like, what do you want me to say? She's like, you were a tool. And I'm like, all right, I'm a tool. I probably wouldn't be married to her. I don't know. I'd probably be like an investment banker. I don't know. What makes a ton of money? A lawyer, investment banker? Gosh.
I mean, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be doing this. I don't know, the outdoor industry, because I was selling hand warmers for a company called Little Hottie's Hand Warmers, and then we sold it in 2009. So I'd probably be, I don't know, be that. I don't know. It's not this though.
Yeah, that's interesting. When I first started out, right out of school, I started off in investment banking, and I couldn't stand it, and I got into the promotional products industry.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And I think, we've tried to make a difference along the way.
No,
so,
it's great. High quality. I love it.
All right. Favorite product MiiR has ever created?
Man,
you're a design guy,
there's a
right?
bunch.
This is gotta be tough.
Yeah.
Talking about all your children.
You're right. They're all my children. It's my baby. I love our porigami is probably my favorite so far. So does anyone know what the porigami is? A couple people. Awesome. Great. If you haven't, check it out. Frank, I love it. The porigami is like a personal passion project that like transcended through our experience in coffee. And so traveling around the world for work, speaking, trade, just everything, good coffee is really hard to come by sometimes. And so you either have like Via or you're like climbing mountains, and I was like, there's gotta be a better solution. And so we ended up making 3 stainless steel panels that are about the size of this, and they click together. You just throw a filter in there with ground coffee, and you can make pour over. And so I grew up on pour over. My grandparents have been doing Chemex forever, and so we designed that. 2 years ago. It came to market last summer. It won Gear of the Show at Outdoor Retailer. So that one's probably my favorite because I use it all the time.
Right.
And I feel like bottles solve a need. Like we need to drink water. They're innovative, right? But the porigami was like yes, and then the name is my favorite too because I was flying from Seattle to New York. And I was 1 Woodford deep, and like that's when creative genius just like flows for me. Just 1, not 2. 2, it's over. 1, it's like you got a window, right?
Yeah.
And I was like writing. I was like dripagami. I was like pour over, cool, and then and then I was like origami, porigami, and I texted my CEO immediately. I was like, register it.
Yeah.
So that was a good one.
That's good. There was a question. Oh, right, number 2 here. So
that's a good one. Yeah.
So I'll give my perspective on this. So if we had the founder of Swell or the founder of Yeti on the stage and talking about how to build a brand that matters, you could argue. Watch out, the denim jacket is badass here. We've got some fans or some detractors out there. But if we were talking about branding, they would talk about how the bottle market is commoditized, and there's a sea of sameness, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I'm curious when you go up against them, like they're heavyweights in this industry as well.
Absolutely.
At premium price points, where's the Swell differentiation against some of those big hitters?
Yeah, it's I think for the like passer buyer, it's probably smaller and a little bit more nuanced.
Right.
As you kind of dig into it, I mean, I think especially corporate promo. I mean, the ETS Express certainly knows the whole Swell story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Swell didn't really make their bottle. Kind of found a shelf and put their name on it. So I think for MiiR, again, design and generosity.
Right.
I mean, Swell does some good. They donate to UNICEF, which is awesome. So I think design, Yeti talks about like over-engineering, which is great. They're kind of in a different market, so to speak, like very outdoor focused. And we kind of joke though, because like once you get into like the nerdiness of stainless steel and vacuum insulation, like the thicker the steel and the heavier it is, when you micro weld, it actually produces a weaker vacuum insulation. So like if you go to Asia, there's tons of really light stainless steel bottles. Well, the vacuum insulation lasts way longer just based on science. Thinner stainless steel creates a better vacuum. Right. So when you overbuild something and make it with really thick stainless steel, you actually make a worse product.
Really?
But nobody knows that. So we don't differentiate like that.
Right. No, I got it.
But I really think it comes down to design and generosity.
Yep.
We speak to a very specific market that's values based. And then I'd say in the coffee, like if Swell is like fashion and kind of a little bit more feminine, Yeti's a little more masculine outdoor. MiiR's kind of like down, more in the middle of values-based, urban, active, very coffee-focused. We have a lot of coffee accounts globally. Yeah.
No, it's clear you're from Seattle,
Yeah.
right? But I think, I mean, we talk about this a lot over the years, is like you find your tribe, you go after that tribe, you focus on them relentlessly.
Yeah.
And Yeti did such a fantastic job with it.
Totally.
I mean, they were going after people that wanted to hunt and
Oh, it was I mean,
have
what
a
a
bear,
brilliant play. Like a
safe cooler, right?
$400 cooler,
I know.
and then the pivot to go from coolers to bottles and to have like a $30 like I am part of Yeti was brilliant.
It's
like,
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Maybe
I
not
have,
as
I have
cool
a couple.
as
I have a couple Yetis. Yeah. They're cut in half, but.
Yeah. How did they make that? Okay, you know what? That is a segue. I got one more question. I could talk to you all day because you're awesome. Okay, but people that rip you off.
Yeah.
You're in the promotional products industry now. You're going to
Oh,
walk
wow.
through a show. I wouldn't be surprised.
There's like respect in the outdoor industry. There is no shame in this industry.
Well, I mean, that could be another
Not
panel.
you all, just the industry.
But you're going to walk the aisles.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that this will happen, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if you walked in and all of a sudden there's someone who's got something inspired by MiiR.
Totally.
Same kind of story, and then the salesperson in the booth is going to say, yeah, you know that MiiR product over at Gemline?
Yeah.
We've got it for half price.
Totally.
Yeah, your customers will love this.
Yeah.
What do you do about that?
I mean, for starters, because we design everything in-house, it's original, right? And then we go out and we protect it. So, you know, design patents can only go so far, trademarks can only go so far, trade dress, all of that. So we protect everything that we feel is protectable globally. So that's like the first start. The second piece is that, like, you know, when people, like the Camp Cup thing, I'll be honest, like we started the Camp Cup revolution almost about 4 years ago. We were the first ones to kind of like insulate with a cool handle, and everybody copied us, which is fine. But it doesn't say MiiR, you know, and I think, you know, so really brand protection comes down to like what is, like what I talked about at the beginning, is like what is the feeling when people say MiiR, right? You know, and so if you like see a knockoff product and there's nothing on there, there's no feeling, right? It's like HP, cool, I got this thing. And it's, so I think that's part of it. Like the most blatant knockoffs, you know, we issue cease and desist. We're serious about it. You know, the legal fees are like, oh wow, yeah, this is exciting.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it really comes down to, you know, who we are, the give. I mean, no one's gonna replicate it perfectly. And like I said, like this is how we've been successful. People can copy it, but let's go. I'll outwork you.
I think that's kind of at the margins, but it's frustrating when it happens.
Oh, it's
but at the end of the day, you know,
it used to really upset me. Like I would lose sleep over my wife's like, if you're wasting your time.
Sure.
But it's so then it's on to the next thing. What's the next thing we're gonna do? Because I think that's really like what innovative brands do is they're like, great, people catch up, but we're like, oh, that's cool, you caught up, we're over here now. Oh, you caught up? All right.
We always like to say that someone can't copy your roadmap, right? They can copy where you've gone.
Totally.
But at the end of the day, if you're a truly innovative company, and I think this applies to everyone in this room, it's what's happening in the next, you know, 1 to 2 to 5 years. And if your competitors often can't copy that.
Totally, what's in here they can't copy.
Exactly. Everyone, let's give it up for Bryan Papé.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
So good. Thank you.